Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Um, experienced a little anger this morning in regards to having my laptop tampered with, but realise now that my sense of playful mischievousness agitates others, and my Machiavellian enterprises arouse confusion because there's no clarity in regards to that. Others may have an inclination as to what it is that I am doing, but not everyone. So there's some sort of resentment, anger, and frustration, which I'm completely powerless over because, that's the nature of youth. And people who aren't attuned to my sense of that particular trait. It was only the other day that I realised that my first enterprise into Machiavellian gamesmanship led to being traumatized to the point where I had an out-of-body experience. So that's still part of my process. I mentioned online this morning that after I'd made my way back to my rendezvous point, I guess, that I've lost my train of thought now. That I blacked out as a result of being overwhelmed by what I experienced somatically and the emotionality of it all. It was just too much to convey to another party, and I still struggle with it 45 years later. I was aware this morning that the anger I was experiencing was from the same sort of frustration at being able to accurately decipher the interest of another individual, the self-interest. Sometimes I have an intuitive thought and I'll respond to that. But as far as being resourceful and using elements of a hobby or a passion to program another individual, I'm very limited in that respect. So my notions about hacking from the same sort of cognitive space as that 5-year-old kid. So I don't have the channels open to me that other individuals do, aside from the fact that I'm a bit of a loner. I am very much the loner, I should say. That's more the truth. And I'm only just starting to be able to emotionally regulate, not because I've achieved my ideal, but I've surrendered to the fact that I'm very two-dimensional in regards to my emotionality. It's either hot or cold. And when I'm hot, I circulate in an affect where this Machiavellian enterprise comes into play, because it involves attraction. And that in of itself is triggering. I become enshrouded by lustful and wistful exuberance, and I don't really connect with the wise mind, that will employ strategies or things of that nature in order for me to help to regulate with acuity the status of another individual without regressing myself. So that bubbly aspect of my nature, it doesn't correlate, or it doesn't reciprocate with the primitive aspect. It's like a small child high on red cordial, or hyper on red cordial. And that's where I fall into a slipstream where I believed I should be loved and adored by the masses. That's how omnipotent and omniscient, it is. And I had no idea that was a form of rejection, where I rejected others in favor of my own objective of infinitizing adulation. That's what adulation does to me. It infinitizes. So when I'm on that cloud, I can be a real fucking whore, basically. And people don't. Some people go through their entire lives and never fucking realise that they're liable, because it's all in the name of love. But for me, it's just self-absorption, justified by the fact that God's rationalized it, so therefore it must be pure in nature. So I don't buy into that shit anymore. And maybe that's the destiny of someone who has burnt themselves out in regards to libido, and just experiences it vicariously now from memories. And that's why I indulge in sugar and caffeine, to reconnect with that libidinal torrent. But I don't torrent as much as I once did. I get tripped into it. And another thing is, how for the general population, it's marketed that you can still experience love and romance, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 60s and 70s, still have an active and healthy sex life. That ain't gonna happen for me. I've made that decision, but I can still experience peace and contentment with the decisions I've made, and not get court-martialed, or not feel victimized by other people court-martialing me for being in a minority, and also because I don't subscribe to that bullshit anymore. For me it was all just an illusion. And whether it's just the fact that through trauma you can age a lot more rapidly, mentally and emotionally, than in recovery, than someone who hasn't experienced the complete annihilation of primary narcissism. I only experienced that in dissociation, or when I become egoic. So I'm only really posting this because I realized on a whim, I antagonized, or I provoked people into making a choice or taking an action. I have no idea where this will really lead to. My thoughts this morning were, I've got to head overseas. It's a bit of a panic. So there's part of me that still wants to play an active role. And I don't think I'll let go of the notion of being a hacker, but using all those other industrious and capable people, knowing that my fucking infantile system is going to devour the entire fucking internet universe. Isn't that fucking grand? But reality is, that's all it is, infantility. And Um, like I mentioned, other people that are capable and industrious and have a passion for it. I just want uh, the adulation, basically. Um, when the truth is, uh, like someone mentioned the other day, I just want to see life and society evolve. If I'm in harm minimization, then that's my cause, basically. Society promotes expansive notions as to what health and well-being is all about, and it's all fucking magnificent, but it is just a form of escapism, and um, I don't indulge in that kind of activity as much. I just want to kick back, smoke cigarettes, and drink Coca-Cola, and regress from time to time. So as far as the chat room goes, I realise, it can be shifted around and stuff like that. And get different feeds, and it's 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 been a placid and docile way of me surrendering to the fact that when I get full of that zest, that juvenile egomania, where I act out, it's tempered that sense of control, that omnipotent and omniscience. It doesn't mean that I still won't slip into that delusion, but if that's the nature of the therapy, then I may have to exercise or engage. I may have to engage it for the rest of my days in order to be able to give an accurate and honest self-appraisal of where I'm at mentally and emotionally. And if this is allowing other people in, then so be it. But if the game is to use your intuition and instinct, then I will make mistakes. And that's something that I couldn't allow myself to do before. Without getting more. I still get confused between mortified and terrified. What I experience is suspension. I get suspended from life or existence, slip back into that solipsistic realm. And, dynastize. So, I'm just going to waffle if I kept going and start going off on tangents. I think that was fairly cohesive narration or dialogue on what it is that I'm experiencing and where I'm at mentally and emotionally and what I struggle with. So this is me being intimate. See that little split there? It's not a fully evolved dissociative identity disorder, but it's part of an introjection of someone else who had a Machiavellian interest, and yeah, I sort of absorbed a little bit of his personality, you know? Time to go. Later.